should have ran half what I did today just because I wasn't ready for the smoke.
Portland's air quality levels are lowered again as wildfire smoke blocks out our blue sky.
A complex commercial plane and an untrained pilot just don't add up.
If you don't know what you're doing, you'll never figure it out. It's not intuitive.
A look at the realistic flight simulators Richard Russell might have used before he stole a plane from SeaTac.
Plus, new hope for a man missing near Mount St. Helens. Why investigators believe now more than ever he could still be alive. KGW News at 6 starts now. Our top story tonight, this. Yuck. A thick haze of wildfire smoke is hovering over Portland.
You can see that the smog is so thick you can barely see a thing from our sky cams. The air quality is now at unhealthy levels in Portland, and health professionals are warning that you should stay indoors. KGW's Pat Doris is live in the West Hills tonight. But Pat, you met a fair number of people ignoring that advice.
Right. Well, even though it looks so awful outside, it is hard advice to follow. Still, it is important advice, especially if you have health issues. As the sun came up this morning, we could see from Sky 8 it was going to be an ugly air day. Wildfire smoke hung in the air like a dirty fog, obscuring what is normally a crystal clear picture of downtown from here, making it feel like some other city, not Portland with its fresh, clean air. The Department of Environmental Quality declared the air unsafe. The Oregon Health Authority issued a warning.
For the general population, it really is advised to stay indoors.
The warning holds for tonight as well. If you don't have to be outside, they say, don't go out, especially if you have health issues.
Older adults, individuals who live with asthma, respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases, all of those individuals are going to be more sensitive to that particulate matter, which really can make it difficult to breathe.
The particulate matter means microscopic bits suspended in the air amid that smoke. It can get into our lungs and cause trouble. Lots of us had to work today and did not get much choice about going outside. Others could not avoid scratching their exercise itch out here.
I just have to work out every day to stay in shape, so I don't care what the weather is. Doesn't matter.
Justin Johnson did not notice the air until he started running.
Lungs, eyes a little bit, but that could be from sweat, but definitely your lungs. I would say if you were going to run, wear a mask.
But not Tony Hill. He's putting in 6 miles today and feels fine.
Yeah, I used to smoke cigars. I think I'll be okay. You can always wash it down with scotch if there's a problem, so it's okay.
I also met this group of 60-plus-year-old runners who wouldn't imagine skipping their Tuesday workout.
This is okay. We're not going very fast, so just not sucking in a lot of air.
They are sort of aware there's an air quality issue, but focused on other things. Steve Strauss is training for his 34th Hood to Coast.
I'm not really noticing too much today. I mean, I can see that it's hazy, but I'm not feeling it in my lungs or anything like that.
Gary Purpura won the Portland Marathon 40 years ago. A little unhealthy air now is not going to stop him.
The way we get around to this, we just breathe in once a lap.
Even the bees are getting agitated out here with this nasty air. The worst air quality right now, Portland, the Dalles, Pendleton, and Medford. And of those 4, Medford is really nasty. Back to you.
Okay, only breathe in once a lap.
Yeah,
there's the secret. That's great.
Challenging, but impressive.
Thank you, Pat.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino is here now.
So, Matt, when will this haze clear out?
It's going to be Thursday before we see some drastic improvement. Tomorrow, maybe a little better in the afternoon, but the air quality, as measured by DEQ, is pretty bad. Now, here's the key over here. You get into the red, that's unhealthy. And it's all red circles here. Numbers over 100 are unhealthy. We've got 166 in Portland, 170 in Tigard and Tualatin, 165 out in Hillsborough. So it's pretty bad air that we're breathing out there. Look at the smoke. Now we had the low-level smoke, the stuff we're breathing, come down from Washington and BC. We had light east winds late Sunday and Monday that helped deliver it to us. But now upper-level smoke is still being transported from southern Oregon and California up into our neck of the woods too. So there's smoke coming at us from different direction at different elevations, and it's just hard to clear the air when that's the case. So the unhealthy air continues tonight and into tomorrow. May improve a little bit in the afternoon tomorrow. It'll definitely improve on Thursday, and by Friday we should be out of the smoke. And we're in the 90s today. We do it again tomorrow. It'll tie for the greatest number of 90-degree days Portland's ever had in a year at 29. Vancouver did it today with its 27th 90-degree day. That record goes back over 100 years to 1906. And finally, the air quality warning or advisory continues, as I said, till 12:30 tomorrow for all of the metro area down through Salem and out through eastern Oregon. Ladies, back to you.
Well, we will look forward to it clearing out. Thank you, Matt. We have another fire to tell you about. A brush fire in Longview has shut down roads this afternoon and even prompted some voluntary evacuations. KGW's Mike Benner is live in Longview for us following this developing story. Mike?
Well, Laurel, some good news since our live report at 5 o'clock. The situation out here has drastically improved. Roads have been reopened. The chopper that was dropping water out here all afternoon has left the scene. Aside from some of these smoldering spots that'll be a challenge, it looks like this fire should be fully contained in about an hour or so. We can tell you the fire started around 12:45 this afternoon. The dry conditions did not do firefighters any favors. The fire quickly grew to 20, maybe even 25 acres. More than 60 firefighters fought this on the ground. A chopper from the DNR assisted from above. The land burning, we can tell you, was a vacant lot slated for development, not far from the Longview Home Depot and Walmart, and very close to the El Patio Mobile Home Park. In fact, those folks were asked to leave out of an abundance of caution. We caught up with one lady who did evacuate. Listen.
And so I've just been trying to do what I can to see if I could get in there to get anything, because obviously everybody has stuff that can't be replaced. And I have a friend that was lucky enough to get in and get a couple of things, so there I'm lucky.
All right, back out here live. Certainly an unsettling afternoon for her, but in the end, her place was just fine. Same can be said for her neighbors. As far as the cause of the fire, it's unclear at this point, although we have been told there have been homeless camps in this area before, and authorities will certainly be looking into that. Back to you in Portland.
Yeah, it's nice to see they've made such progress. Thank you, Mike. Well, developing tonight, crews are shifting their search area up on Mount St. Helens.
They say cell phone data paired with computer analysis and a possible sighting have given them a better idea of where a missing hiker might be.
KGW's Maggie Vespa is live in Amboy, Washington. That's about 12 miles north of Battleground. And Maggie, this will be Matt Matheny's 6th night lost in the wilderness.
Tracy, that's right. He disappeared on Thursday. As we know, he'd been here visiting friends from Ohio, but that day those friends had to work and he wanted to sightsee, so he went up to Mount St. Helens by himself. And fast forward to tonight, those friends are frantic, but in light of those new developments, they're also hopeful. After days of searching from the air and on the ground, people who love Matthew or Matt Matheny are energized.
I just can't tell you how much of a relief it was to show up bright and early this morning and hear that something had been found.
The first break, a hiker from Vancouver reached out saying they'd just been hiking near Blue Lake Trail, but up a ways, and they'd noticed something.
It was quite some distance away, and they saw a person in light-colored clothing that was in an area that they didn't necessarily expect to see someone in.
That hiker didn't know anyone was missing until they got home and saw photos of 40-year-old Matheny, a nurse from Warren, Ohio, missing since Thursday. The description matched. On top of that, days-old data from Matheny's cell phone came in today. It puts him in that same area, as did a computer program searchers use to analyze probabilities of where a person might wander in the wilderness. The issue? That program also pushed the search in new directions.
But it did give us some additional areas that we could look at. Some of those took us into Skamania County, so we're coordinating with the Skamania County Sheriff's Office.
Another change, volunteers are pouring in. Total strangers with hiking experience showing up to help. Tell me about all the volunteers.
Amazing. I mean, people are calling off work for somebody they don't know.
Authorities running this search say they plan to keep going at this pace for at least 1 to 2 more days. Friends, including Natalie Bush, whose family is hosting Matheny, will stay as long as it takes.
He's out here. We know he's out here now. We know he's out here. It's been 5 days. He was strong and positive guy in a good place in his life. He has motivation, and we just need help finding him.
And friends add they hope Matheny's work as a nurse will help him out in the wilderness. And aside from one big heavy rainstorm that happened up on Mount St. Helens, the weather has also been cooperating as well. There is one big fear, though, someone mentioned today, and that's wildlife. In fact, a searcher told Natalie Bush, the woman you just heard from, kind of an offhand comment. He says, I was riding in this area not that long ago, and he said, I looked up at one point and I saw a bear on one side of me and a mountain lion on the other. It's really scary stuff, but those friends of Matt Matheny are determined to remain positive. Back to you.
We'll stay positive too. Thank you, Maggie.
I feel like the guy was definitely deliberately aiming towards us.
Two brothers survived with only minor injuries after being hit by a car in downtown Portland. They were standing on the sidewalk when the driver slammed into them. KGW's Kylie Bush is live in the newsroom. Kyle, this driver is facing all kinds of charges now, including drunk driving.
Indeed, Laura. That driver appeared in court today, and records show he has a history of drunk driving and he's got a suspended license. 37-year-old Sheldon Scott appeared before a judge by video. Scott is charged with attempted assault, reckless driving, and DUII. Police say late yesterday afternoon, Scott hit two men on the corner of Southwest 3rd and Pine in downtown Portland. Both victims, Aaron Miller and his brother Jordan, were standing on the sidewalk. Witnesses say the driver made a U-turn, then hit the gas and rammed into both men. It's not clear why. They don't know each other. Neither victim was seriously injured, just some bruises and sore muscles.
The way we were positioned on the sidewalk, it would be almost impossible for someone to accidentally go up on the sidewalk like that.
I could basically just hear an engine behind me revving up, coming towards me at a high rate of speed. And I knew it was too close, and before I knew it, I kind of turned, and I was on the ground, kind of under his bumper.
After the crash, police say Scott drove off. He was taken into custody several blocks away. He's due back in court later on this month. Back to you.
Kyle, thank you. Today, crews continued hauling pieces of a crashed plane from an island in the Puget Sound. Richard Russell stole that plane from SeaTac Airport last Friday, flew it around the Sound for an hour, then crashed it into an island. Crews recovered his body and the black box over the weekend, and the investigation continues. New witness video shows the stolen plane doing barrel rolls and other stunts in the air. John Waldron was taking a walk when he saw the plane doing flips on Friday night. He knew something wasn't right, so he pulled out his phone and started recording.
Somehow, by the grace of God, he recovered out of the loop that he went into, but he looked like he was going to actually head right toward where I was at, so I was prepared to run. Maybe 10 or 15 seconds later, I saw a quick, small orange flash and a puff of smoke, and then I really knew something wasn't right.
Waldron says after seeing what happened, he hoped his video could help investigators and maybe bring some closure to Richard Russell's family.
We know Richard Russell's security clearance gave him access to the stolen plane. Now, investigators are looking at whether flight simulators taught him how to fly it so well. Chris Ingalls reports on the one hint he gave air traffic controllers during his hour-long flight.
The plane is sitting on runway 34 at SeaTac. So when you're ready to take off, you just take the throttle here.
Private pilot Nate Johnson is flying virtual reality skies in a Q400, the same type of passenger jet that Richard Russell stole from SeaTac Airport Friday night.
This is Microsoft Flight Simulator X or Flight Simulator 10.
Just starting up a complex commercial airliner is a challenge.
If you don't know what you're doing, you'll never figure it out. It's not intuitive.
So this is like having a flight instructor in your living room.
This teaches you all the procedures in a step-by-step manner, just like you would use in real life, on how you would start the plane.
High-quality simulator software is available to the public for about $100. And that may have been what Richard Russell was talking about in a reply to air traffic controllers' questions about whether he needed help from a pilot to fly the plane.
Nah, I don't need that much help. I played some video games before.
Russell even would have been able to perfect his aerial stunts.
Just by trial and error, you can push the reset button, right? When you start over at the beginning of the airport, and then you do it again, and you learn that before you weren't going quite fast enough to complete the loop. Now you go a little bit faster before you start the loop, and then you complete the loop.
Should this kind of software, with this level of detail, be available to the public? Nate Johnson, a licensed pilot who flies small planes, says it's a one-of-a-kind training tool that shouldn't be restricted.
Had I learned the same information in a classroom setting or a flight school setting, it would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars more.
Concerns were raised after it was reported the 9/11 hijackers used flight simulators to learn how to fly. And simulators are much more sophisticated now. A spokesperson for Microsoft said the game maker has, quote, nothing to share on the matter.
Coming up, a new beginning 5 years in the making after its Warrenton plant went up in flames. Pacific Seafood reopens on the Oregon coast.
Plus, the list of most livable cities in the world is out. Which city took the top spot? Coming up.